Good morning, students. Today we'll be starting with our first prose that we'll be knowing what it is. You are having this picture in front of you. Now, just try to make some interpretation out of this picture. What do you think should be the title of the story that we are going to read today? Yes, you can make your guesses while you are looking at this picture. They're looking like they're fighting, right? So, what do you think that if one has to cheat to win this fight, then what do you think that should be a good decision made by him or not? If the guy that is wearing or the boy that is wearing red t-shirt decides to cheat to win even when they both are good friends, then do you think that is fair or it is unfair for the other person or the other boy who is wearing the blue t-shirt? If you're thinking that it should not be fair, then that is what the story we are going to learn about today. That is fair play. So we'll be going to know that what actually happens between the lines. So we'll be first discussing about the author. That who is the author of this story? That is Prem Chand. Basically, he was born on 31st July 1880 and he died on 8 October 1936. He is better known as Munshi Prem Chand. Munshi, being an honorary prefix, was an Indian writer famous for his modern Hindustani literature. He is one of the most celebrated writers of the Indian subcontinent and is regarded as one of the four most Hindustani writers of the early 20th century. So we can say that he is quite famous for his work, right? He was born, the real name with which he was born as was Dhanpat Rai Srivastav. He began writing under the pen name that is Nawab Rai, but subsequently he switched to Prem Chand, that is a novel writer, story writer and dramatist. He has been referred to as the Upnyas and some Upnyas Samrat, that is emperor among novelists by Hindi writers. His works include more than a dozen novels, around 250 short stories, several essays, and translations of a number of foreign literature's works into Hindi. He has translated many foreign literary works into Hindi as well. So we can say that he is quite famous for what he does. He's a dramatist, he's a writer, novelist, he's like talented, doing multiple things at a time, right? Yes, so now we'll be discussing more further. Yes, now you will be elaborating on this situation. You'll be thinking about the situation, that any situation where you were wrongly judged or you felt cheated. It must have been like many a times there are certain situations where we feel that we are being judged or we are being wrongly accused for something that we did not do, right? So you can think upon it and try to get that feeling that how you felt at that time when this situation has occurred with you as well. As I'm giving you few seconds to get into that zone so that you'll be able to feel how you felt at that time when you were in that situation. Yes, so we can say you must have felt betrayed, or you must have been felt like bad about it, that you are being judged for something that you didn't do, right? So we'll be with that thought, we'll be moving forward. But first, you will be checking what you have understood from the previous slides that we discussed. Yes, so you will be filling this blank that Premchand died on which date. We just discussed this on the previous slide that was there written. So you will be checking your knowledge here and you'll be writing your answers in the chat box so that we will be getting the idea that if we are learning the things or not, right? So we'll move forward. Now we'll be reading and starting with the story. So Juman Sheikh and Algu Chaudhry were good friends. So strong was their bond of friendship that when either of them went away from the village, the other looked after his family. Both were greatly respected in the village. Juman had an old aunt who had some property. This she transferred to him on the understanding that she would stay with him and he would look after her. The arrangement worked well for a couple of years. Then, the situation changed. Juman and his family were tired of the old relatives. Juman became as indifferent to her as his wife, who just even the little food that the old lady wanted every day. So she swallowed these insults along with her food for a few months, but patience has its limits. So here in this story, we are talking about two friends who are Juman Sheikh and Albu Chaudhary, and they were two good friends, and their bond was too strong. Their friendship was too strong that when either of them went away from the village or from the home, the other looked after their family, the family of the other, and they were greatly respected in the village because they were both loyal toward each other as well, so they are both respected in that way. And Juman had an old aunt. Juman was having an aunt who had some property which they were that she transferred that property to Juman with an understanding that he will be taking care of her when she will get old. And he did take care of her, took care of her for some time. But after that, after a couple of years, that situation changed, and Juman and his family were tired of that aunt, and they were even so tired that they became indifferent to the aunt, the old aunt, and they were even tired of that little food that the aunt was having. So that arrangement that they had about the property and them taking care of the aunt, that I think that they will be looking at if that arrangement will be damaged or not, will it be successful or not. And the aunt swallowed these insults. She like put up with these insults for some time, but after that she also has her own limits. Then we'll be looking at what happens after this arrangement is like at a stake. So we'll be moving forward. Now you will be thinking about that who is your best friend and what qualities does he or she have, right? This is just a activity that you need to do. That we'll be thinking about who is your best friend and what qualities he or she is having, and think about if you are in a situation sometimes when you have to choose between something your friend has done wrong, then what would you be doing? You will be telling your friend, or you will be sticking to your friendship and just saying yes to everything that your friend is saying. I'll be giving you a few seconds to think about it, to get into that thought, and we'll be moving forward from here then. Yes, so we'll be moving forward. Now, what was the arrangement between the aunt and the Jumman? Now, you must have read the passage with me, and you must have listened. If you must have listened to me properly, you will be able to answer this question. You will be giving your answers in the chat box. I'll be checking upon them later on. So, the arrangement between the aunt and the Jumman, you will be telling what was the arrangement between the both before I tell the answer. Yes, hopefully you must have understood the statements that were written in the previous passage. So the arrangement between the Jumman and the aunt was that aunt had some property which she decided to give to Jumman with the understanding that he will be taking care of her when she becomes old. So that they will both be having mutual understanding of that agreement or that arrangement. But we'll see what happened afterwards. Now, what do you see in front of you? What do you think it is that the man is giving the money to the girl, to his daughter basically? Yes, so we call this allowance. That is allowance when you give money to someone. So we'll be checking what happened regarding this allowance. So I'm moving for myself here so that you'll be able to see clearly. So we'll be moving forward. So one day she spoke to Juman, "My son, it is now obvious that I am not wanted in your house. Kindly give me a monthly allowance so that I can set up a separate kitchen. My wife knows best how to run the house. Be patient, said Juman shamelessly. This made his aunt very angry, and she decided to take her case to the village panchayat. For many days, the old lady was seen talking to the villagers, explaining her case and seeking their support. Some sympathized with her, others laughed at her, and a few others advised her to make it up with her nephew and his wife. At last she came to Algu Chaudhary and spoke to him. You know, Chachi Jumman is my best friend. How can I go against him? Algu said. But is it right, my son, to keep mum and not say what you consider just and fair? Pleaded the old lady. Come to the panchayat and speak the truth, she said. Algu didn't reply, but her words kept ringing in his ears. So we should get started. So one day the aunt told to Juman that my son, it is now obvious that I am not wanted in your house. She is not feeling that she is not wanted in Juman's house or his nephew or her nephew's house. And she is asking for some monthly allowance so that she can live separately and just build her separate kitchen so that she won't be able to get all that insult that she was getting from his wife and him also. My wife knows best how to run the house. So Juman is saying that it is that he is not willing to give the alliance because he will be giving the alliance only to his wife and she will be deciding how the house will be run and how she will be treated, how the aunt will be treated in the house basically. So be patient, said Juman shamelessly. So he was not having any shame at that situation that he should be treating the aunt rightly, but he instead said be patient, and this made his aunt very angry and she decided to take her case to the village panchayat. Now this aunt decided to, with her anger that she was getting because of the situation that she was in with her nephew, she decided to take her case to the village panchayat where she wanted to decide whether this situation should be in her favor or not. For many days, the old lady was seen talking to the villagers, explaining her case and seeking their support. So this lady, that is the aunt of the Jumman, she went to many other villages also, explaining her situation, and she was seeking support for anyone that who will be helping her in this situation to help her get some that respect that she deserves. But some only sympathized with her, showed pity towards her, and some also laughed at her. But none of them were ready to actually listen to her situation and genuinely give their concern towards that. So after that, a few others advised her to make it up with her nephew and his wife. So they were also the villagers also were also advising the aunt to make it up to just mend things with her nephew and his wife. So if she wants to live happily or if she wants to live in peace. But she then decided to go to the Algu Chaudhary, who is also the best friend of Jumman basically. At last she came to Algu Chaudhary and spoke to him. You know, Chachi, Jumman is my best friend. And what was the reply of the Algu towards the aunt? That Jumman is his best friend. And how can he go against him? Algu said this to aunt. But is it right, my son, to keep mum and not say what you consider just and fair? So now aunt is telling it to Algu, asking it to Algu that is it right in this situation? Is Juman right that he is not saying anything to his wife also and he's just there in the situation where he's just looking at everything but not saying anything? Is it fair towards her? So she is just asking this question to the Algu, and she pleaded, she requested the old lady requested this to Algu that he should be speaking the truth. He should come to this panchayat and he should speak the truth in front of everyone that what should be just and what should be fair in this certain situation or in this agreement. She said Algu, but Algu did not reply anything towards what the aunt just said, and uh, but the words that the aunt said, that is the situation just and fair? Is the Jumman right or not in this situation that he's not saying anything but keeping mum? Is this right or not? These words kept ringing in Algu's ear. So he must be thinking about that whether he should be blindly trusting his friend and following him, but or he should be looking at the situation in an impartial way, and he should be trying to give that decision accordingly. So we'll be looking after it what happens next. Now you will be telling that what you would have done if you were in place of Algu, what choices you would have made. So now Juman have two choices. He should just ignore the situation that the aunt was in and go after his friend, just ignore the situation and just be with his friend, agrees with his friend. He should agree with his friend that everything is all right. He should ignore his aunt and just he and Jamman and his wife should continue what they are doing, or he should just give a fair decision where that property is also being the thing about the property is also being discussed, and that whole arrangement is taken care of or not. These things should be discussed or not, that whether the both the parties are satisfied or not. The things that was kept to be mutual at that time previously, is that thing still mutual or not? You should be taking care of that or not. So you will be discussing about that in the chat box. You may enter your responses. I'll be giving you few minutes to think upon that. So most of you must be thinking that Algu should be fair. Some of you are thinking that one should follow or one should support his friend, but most of you are saying that Algu should be fair towards both, and he should just look at the situation fairly with an impartial view, and he should be making a wise decision accordingly as the head, right? Now you will be testing your understanding accordingly. Yes, now we have this question in front of us, that is you will be creating sentence using these words, that is alliance, separate, panchayat and obvious. I will be giving you 2 minutes for this, as you will be taking time to write sentences in the chat box. So you will be writing your responses in the chat box. I'll be checking upon them later on and correcting if it is required. Sorry for that. First one is alliance, second is separate, the third is panchayat, and the fourth one is obvious. We will try to make sentences out of these 4 words. 1 more minute left. Thirty seconds more to go. Ten seconds left. You have done this previously as well. You can do this. Alliance, that is to give someone money or pocket money. Separate, to differentiate between two things. Obvious, when something is certain, or we can say not anything out of the box, that is meant to happen, that is obvious. Panchayat is when a few people, official people, sit in a community to decide what is right and what is wrong under certain rules and regulations which they feel are right for a community. Yes, so we will be moving forward. Now we'll do a quick recap. For further, we'll be discussing that what happens in the story. But today we have discussed about that there were two friends, that is Jumman and Algu, and their bond was too strong, and they were, when they went out from the village, one used to look after the family of the other. But there was this situation between Juman and his aunt that they decided that the aunt had some property that she'll be giving to Juman. She'll be taking that Juman will be taking care of that property in the name of her, but in return Juman will be taking care of the aunt when she becomes old. So that agreement was there, that arrangement was there between the Juman and his aunt. But later on, when she grew old, the Juman and his wife, they just turned indifferent towards the aunt, and they were bothered by even the food that the aunt was having. And the aunt at last became frustrated, or we can say she had her limits. She decided to she decided to go against her nephew, and to go first she went to different people in the village and asked for support and to have some mercy towards her, so that they will guide her nephew that he should be behaving properly towards the aunt. But nobody listened to her, and they just gave her advice that she would be mending things with her nephew and his wife. But later on, she went to Algu, who was also the panchayat head, and she thought that he will be giving her a fair decision, that which should be in her favor as well. So she decided, now Algu is in a situation where he needs to think upon he need whether he should give the fair decision, which should be impartial, or he should be supporting his friend Jumman, who is who like everybody admires their bond. So he should be focusing on that bond that they share, or he should be focusing on being impartial toward a certain situation where he feels that the aunt is being mistreated in that situation, and what should happen with the agreement. We'll be discussing upon that. Now you will be answering these following questions to let me have an idea if you understand what the lesson was all about. So the full name of the writer is dash. You will be entering your responses in the chat box. Now, and the second question is, what did the old lady transfer to Jumman? In that arrangement that the old lady, the aunt of the Jumman, and the Jumman were having, what was transferred from the old lady to the Jumman? We'll be answering that in the chat box. And how was the behavior of Jumman's wife towards the old lady? Now we have seen that they were living together, Jumman and his aunt, and his wife was also there. So how was the behavior of the Jumman's wife toward the old lady? That you will be answering in the chat box again. And the last question is, the old lady went to whom and why? So we have seen that old lady went to different people in the village. You will be answering that old lady went to whom, at what time, what response she got from them, and what was the reason that she was going to different people in the village. So this was all about the fair play that we have discussed till now. We will be moving forward and we'll be discussing more about in the upcoming classes. So stay tuned for that, and thank you for being here and being good students. Thank you. This is about to end now. Time is up. So sorry. The class is going to end at 25.